Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. This is RetroDog34, and in this week's video we're going to talk about one of my tank builds. That's right, my Sorc tank build, WildStorm. This build excels in resource management. If you find yourself struggling with resources and resource management, this is the build for you. This is a great and fun build. It is a PVE build. You can run vet and hard mode trials. You can even run your 4-man content on both vet and hard mode. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, first up is stats. So again, this is a tank build. This is going to be key in how you set up your character. Again, this is open to all races. This is not something that you need to run a specific, even though that I always do recommend running a Imperial. So this is a health tank. I put all 64 points into health. This gives me my max magicka at 19,714, my maximum health at 47,992, my max stamina at 21,890, giving me my magicka recovery at 1777, health recovery at 1532, and stamina recovery at 916. Spell damage and spell crit and spell penetration, not really things that we're looking for. But let's go ahead and get it down into our advanced stats. Our advanced stats, if you notice, all our resists are at 34.6. Bash cost is at 1799. Our break free cost is at 1580. Our block cost is at 814. And our sprint cost is at 476. Block mitigation, which is big for us, is 69%, and our block movement speed is 63. So the food that I always run is Bewitched Sugar Skulls. This gives us our increased health, our max stamina, magicka. Those are all things to go. Our boon is the Atronach, so definitely increases our magicka recovery by 310. These are things that definitely you need to run as a tank. All right, so next up, skills. Skills, especially on this build, will help you with that resource management. So first up, let's look at my primary bar, Boundless Storm. So with Boundless Storm, you manifest yourself as a pure lightning, zapping nearby enemies with electricity, dealing 501 shock damage every 1 second for 23 seconds. While in this form, you also gain Major Resolve, increasing your physical resistance and your spell resistance by 5, 9, 48. Activating this grants Major Expedition for a brief period, increasing your movement speed 30% for 4 seconds. This is great for that Major Resolve. Again, Boundless Storm is one of those that you definitely want to use on this build. There are other skills that I'll mention later that you could swap out, but I personally like this just because it gives you that lightning aura and kind of gives it that effect for this build, but it gives you that huge resistance. All right, next up, Dark Deal. Bargain with the darkness to restore 8,090 health, 3,600 stamina instantly, and an additional 2,400 stamina over 20 seconds. This is your resource management. This is your first resource management for this character. This is one of those that will definitely help with this build. This keeps your resources up at all times. You just snap this off and it quickly just goes ahead and restores all your, literally almost all your stamina. And it just keeps going and going and going. This is like the Energizer Bunny. All right, next up, Summon Unstable Clanfear. So command the power of Oblivion to send a Daedric Clanfear to fight at your side. The Clanfear's headbutt deals 811 physical damage while its tail spike hits nearby enemies for 811 physical damage for 1 second. Once summoned, you can activate the Clanfear special ability for 4,230 magicka, healing you for 15,362 and the Clanfear for 7,681. The Clanfear remains until killed or unsummoned. This is a awesome heal ability. In my personal opinion, probably one of the best heal abilities for tanks. Especially on this build, it is a quick snap heal. You're spending some magic. You're casting a huge heal tick off onto you and keeping your clan fear up. This is probably one of the best heals in the game. Next up, Heroic Slash. Surprise an enemy with a deep lunge, dealing 3,248 physical damage and inflicting them with minor maim, reducing their damage done by 5% for 12 seconds. You gain minor heroism, granting you one ultimate every 1.5 seconds for 12 seconds. This is key to getting our ultimates up. Next is Pierce Armor. Thrust your weapon with disciplined precision at an enemy, dealing 2,707 physical damage and taunting them to attack you for 15 seconds. This is our main taunt ability. Also inflicts minor breach and major breach on enemy, reducing their physical resistance and spell resistance by 2,947 and 5,948 for 15 seconds. Again, this is our main way of taunting. Next up is our ultimate, our first one, Reviving Barrier. Invoke defensive tactics to protect yourself and nearby group members with wards that each absorb up to 24,978 damage for 30 seconds. This ward also heals you and your group members for 11,595 health and over 15 seconds. This is a great way of making sure all your party members survive. It does a huge health bonus and shield that will absorb a lot of damage. Definitely, if not the tank running this, definitely the healer runs this. All right, next up is Aggressor. Let's go check out Blockade of Storm. Slam your staff down to create a storm barrier in front of you, dealing 621 shock damage to enemies in the target area every 1 second and setting concussed enemies off balance for 7 seconds. All right, so that's the main reason why we use this with our Crusher enchantment on our Lightning and Frost Staff. Next up, Restraining Prison. Call forth Daedric shards from the earth to immobilize enemies in front of you for 6 seconds. If no enemies are immobilized, you restore 2,512 magicka. Hitting an enemy grants you major vitality, increasing healing received by 16% for 2 seconds, plus 1 extra second per enemy in the area up to 6 seconds. All right, next up is our Clan Fear again. Again, we need to run on both bars to make sure that we keep it active. That way we're not resummoning it and using up resources to cast and re-res it. All right, next up, fire a Dawn Guard's crossbow hook to pull an enemy to you, dealing 2,947 physical damage and reducing their movement speed by 30% for 4 seconds. That's our Silver Leash. That is our chain ability. Next up, Inner Rage. Ignite the fires of hate in an enemy's heart, dealing 2,245 magic damage and taunting them to attack you for 15 seconds. A ranged ally targeting the taunt enemy can activate their Radiant Synergy, dealing 4,422 magic damage to them over 3 seconds, then an additional 4,427 magic damage to them and other nearby enemies. This is a great one. Aggressive Warhorn. Sound a Warhorn to rally your forces, increasing you and your group's max magicka and max stamina by 10% for 30 seconds. You and your allies gain major force, increasing your critical damage by 20% for 9 seconds. All right, so those are the main skills that I end up running, but that doesn't mean that you can't change out a couple things. So one of the ones that you can change out is the Bound Aegis, especially for our Boundless Storm. You can switch out Boundless Storm and run Bound Aegis. Bound Aegis, protect yourself with the power of Oblivion, creating a suit of Daedric mail that increases your block mitigation by 40% for 3 seconds. While slotted, your max magicka is increased by 8%, and you gain major resolve, increasing your physical and spell resistance by 2974. Now, remember when I was talking about Boundless and I showed you how much that physical resist was? So again, when you look at Boundless Storm, this is where your physical resistance and spell resistance come into play. So with Boundless Storm, you're getting 5,948 versus some of a lower number. Another good option is running Balance. Balance is a great one. So barter with Oblivion to trade vitality for power, sacrificing your health in exchange for 3,000 magicka. This is a great tool. After the exchange is complete, you gain Major Resolve for 25 seconds, increasing your physical and spell resistance by 5, 9, 48. The exchange reduces your healing done and damage shield strength by 50% for 4 seconds. This is one of the reasons why I run Boundless, though, because I don't like that 50% reduction for my shield. So that's one of the reasons why I do run Boundless instead of maybe Balance. All right, so next up, champion points. Champion points are pretty basic when you're thinking about a tank. So when we're looking at this, staving death. So this is our first area that we want to look at when building our tank and our champion points for it. So in this area, we need to do quick recovery and just put 10 points to open it up. Next up, we do preparation, reduce the damage taken from non-player attacks by 5% per stage. Max this out and you'll get a 10% damage reduction. So next up, we're going to do elemental Aegis, reduce the damage you take from magical attacks by 1% per stage. The effect affects magic of flame. And then we want to do Hardy, reduce the damage you take from martial attacks by 1% per stage. Again, max this out as much as possible. These are the key ones in this area. So next up, we want to take a look at Eldritch Insight, grants 260 max magicka per stage. That gives us a 520 max magicka. We want to also look at Tireless Discipline, grants 260 max stamina per stage, giving us 520 max stamina. Next up, this is where you get to put in our first one, our Duelist Rebuff, reduce the damage taken by single target attacks by 2% per stage. This gives me a 10% damage reduction. Unsellable, reduce the damage taken by area effect by 2%. This gives me a 10% damage reduction. Enduring Resolve, reduce your damage taken by damage over time by 2%. This gives us again another 10% damage reduction. These are all slottable, so don't forget to slot these in your appropriate areas. Next one is Bulwark. While you have a shield or frost staff equipped, your spell physical resistance is increased by 1,900. Next up is Reinforced. When you begin bracing, you gain a damage shield that absorbs 5,140 damage for 3 seconds. This effect can occur once every 10 seconds. I don't have this one slotted, but definitely nice to have. This next one is Repossess. When you block an attack, an enemy within 7 meters, you deal 5,040 physical damage. Next up, I'm trying to max this one out, is Last Stand. When you take damage below 20% health, you gain Major Heroism. Granting 3 ultimate every 1.5 seconds for 9 seconds. So again, I have extra champion points in this area. I've already slotted the ones that are definitely needed and just maxing the other ones out. All right, first up for this one is Boundless Vitality. Grant 28 max health per stage. Also max out Ironclad. This will give you 1731 armor. Rejuvenation, grant 3 health max and gives you 150 for the health, magicka, and stamina. Next one is Defiance. Reduce the cost of break free by 110 stamina. This gives me 220. Next up is Expert Evasion. Your next roll dodge is free of cost. After consuming this effect, you cannot gain it again for 30 seconds. Definitely one that you want to slot because we do roll quite a bit. One that I definitely always say to get, Mystic Tendency, reduce the duration of elemental status effect applied to you by 5%, 25% when maxed out. Next one, Tumbling, reduce the cost of roll dodge by 120 stamina per stage. Currently max this out at 240. Again, these are probably some of the ones that you always want to try to get and then start working on others. Hero's Vigor. Definitely open this up. Grants 280 max health per stage, so you get 560 max health. Hasty, increase your movement speed. While sprinting by 2%, you'll get a 4% movement speed. Next up is Tireless Guardian. Reduce the cost of block by 20. Stamina per stage is a 40 block cost reduction. Huge, especially for us tanks that do a lot of blocking. So definitely needed. Fortification, increase the amount of damage you can block by 2% per stage, 4% block mitigation. This is again huge, we block a lot. Savage defense, reduce the cost of bash by 45 stamina per stage, 90 cost reduction. Since we do a lot of blocking, we also do a lot of bashing. Next up, try to get this when you can, on guard. While under the effects of crowd control immunity, increase the amount of damage you block by 2%. Right now I have it at 4% block mitigation. Again, trying to max this out when I get done. All right, next up is for crafting. Or the craft area. So Wanderer, reduce the cost of Waste Shrine usage by 10% per stage. Right now it's at 50% cost reduction. Steadfast Enchantment. This one was changed. Your weapon enchantment has a 10% chance to not consume a charge when active per stage. You have 50% chance now not to use a soul shard. Next up is Rationeer. Add 10 minutes to the duration of any food or drink, increasing your character's stats. Liquid efficiency. When you use a potion or poison, you have a 10% chance to not consume it. Again, have that slotted. Next up is Steed's Blessing. Increase your out-of-combat movement speed by 4.4% per stage. Right now it's 20%. Treasure Hunter. Increase the quality of items you find in treasure chests. Slot that one. That's a great one. Put that in your champion bar. All right. Next one is Fortune's Favor. Increase the amount of gold you find in treasure chests and safe box by 10% per stage, giving me a 50% increased gold. Gilded Fingers. Increase the gold gained by 2% per stage. Right now it's at 2% increased gold. So those are the champion points and definitely things that you need to work on if you are not max level yet. So definitely look at maxing that out. All right, so next up is our racial or our race skills. So I'm using a Khajiit in this case. So Cut Purse, increase your experience gain with medium armor skill line by 15%. Again, not useful for a tank, but it is a Khajiit class. Just unlock it. Robustness, increase your health recovery by 100, your stamina and magicka recovery by 85. Great for us. Lunar Blessing, increase your max health, magicka, and stamina by 915. Great for a tank. Feline Ambush, increase your critical damage and your critical healing by 12%. Not really good for a tank, but it can come in clutch when you use your Clanfear, maybe, if you do a crit. All right, next up is our gear. So with our gear is what I'm going to go ahead and talk about first is what I run on this character. And this is kind of one of those, because I run on console, it is static. I don't change quite a lot of it, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about different ones, especially about the different armor sets that I do run in different cases. So without further ado, let's get into this. All right, so first up, Aegis of Gallowing. Aegis of Gallowing is a great set. You do get this from a trial, Cloud Rest. So the first two items adds 1,206 maximum health. Item number 3, gain major Aegis at all times, reducing your damage taken from dungeon trials and arena monsters by 5%. Number 4 adds 4% healing taken. And number 5, after successfully blocking, you grant empower to 11 allies within 15 meters for 3 seconds, increasing the damage of your light and heavy attacks by 40%. This effect can occur once every 2 seconds. I will run this on my main bar, or my weapons, my sword, my shield, and my back bar. I will also run this on my jewelry, which is my necklace and both my rings. So this is definitely one of those that I do run. It is a great set and one that I definitely recommend if you haven't gotten to trials yet. Definitely get into trials. Cloud Rest is one of those that you can complete as a +3 normal or even a +2, especially with some experienced players. You can get this done fairly easy and get your items out of there and be able to use them in this slot. All right, next up is Claw of Yellowneck. So this is a great set for your body pieces. So 2 items add 1206 max health. 3 items gain minor Aegis to all items, reducing your damage taken from dungeons, trials, and arena monsters by 5%. Number 4 adds 1096 maximum stamina, and 5 items. When you taunt an enemy, you give yourself and 11 group members minor courage for 15 seconds, increasing your weapon and spell damage by 215. This effect can occur once every 8 seconds. This is what I use on my body. I don't typically change that a whole lot. I typically always run Claw of Yellowneck quite a bit, or what a lot of people call as YOLO. I typically don't change my body pieces too much. What I do end up changing is my my weapons and my jewelry. Those are the ones that I do typically swap out quite a bit depending on the different type of dungeons that I'm running. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the different monster sets that I do run on my character. These are going to be a little different depending on what type of group makeup that you have. So the first one that I'll go ahead and talk about is a Magicka based one. All right, so the first one is Incarnates Behemoth. So when I'm talking about the different sets, this is the one that you want to use as a Magicka based. So again, this is adds 1096 maximum Magicka. Item 2, dealing flame damage to an enemy, grants you Behemoth's aura for 12 seconds. That reaches up to 12 meters. You and up to 11 group members in the aura reduce flame damage taken by 5%. Enemies in the aura increase their flame damage taken by 5%. The effect can occur once every 15 seconds. Again, this is a great Magicka based monster helm that if you have a party with Magicka, primarily Magicka type of characters, you'll definitely want to run this. What you'll end up doing is on your one-handed, you'll go ahead and make it infused, and you'll run a flame enchantment on it. So anytime you do damage, you're going to go ahead and proc this, and that way it will increase your party members' damage by 5%, especially with the flame. All right, so next up is Tremor Scale. Tremor Scale is definitely one of those if your party's makeup is mostly stamina based. So again, Tremor Scale, item number 1 adds 1096 max stamina. Item number 2, when you activate a taunt ability on an enemy, you cause a Dune Ripper to burst from the ground beneath them after 1 second, dealing 0 physical damage to all enemies within 4 meters and reducing their physical resistance by 2395 for 8 seconds. This effect can occur once every 8 seconds, and the damage scales off the higher of your physical or spell resistance. Again, this is great for when your party makeup tends to lean heavily towards stamina based. So what you definitely want to do is run Tremor Scale when you're using or running with party members that are stamina based, and Incarnates Behemoth when you're running with Magicka based or party members that you are primarily Magicka based. So definitely two great monster sets that you always want to keep with you. All right, so if you're not running a 5, 5, and 2, meaning that you're not running 5 weapons and jewelry and 5 body pieces and 2 monster helms, you'll definitely want to take a look at these next 2. You'll want to run them a one-handed and shield. It comes from an arena. It is punctured or perfected puncturing remedy. Perfected Puncturing Remedy, 2 items, add 3% health taken when you deal damage with puncture. You heal for 2230 health and gain spell and physical resistance equal to the amount of healing or overhealing done for 5 seconds. The healing scales off your max health. This again helps you in staying up. As long as you're a tank, that's one of our jobs, not the primary job, but is one of our jobs to stay up, right? And we're going to go ahead and puncture. When we puncture, we're taunting. So when we use this set, while we're going to go ahead and taunt, we're going to get a heal. So on top of our clan fear, which gives us a great heal and probably one of the best heals in the game, we're also using this weapon set to offer a heal to us as well. So on top of that, and our great resource management from our skill line, this is probably one of the best tanks that I've put together in recent history. This is one of those that I just really love, and it's easy to run and keep all my resources up with the type of gear that I currently have running with it. All right, so say that you don't have a guild or a group that you can run with and get to that trial, or those two trials, right? Cloud Rest or Sunspire, where both those sets that I'm running, Gallowings and Yellowneck's, come from. So now what do? You can still build this, and I definitely recommend these next two pieces of equipment for that. So the first piece is Plague Doctors. Plague Doctors adds a huge amount of health for you. So 2 items adds 1206 max health, 3 adds another 1206, 4 adds 1206, and the 5th item adds 2804 max health. This will help you stay up, especially when you're a new tank. This is definitely a great set that you can run. It's an overland set. You can buy it from any of the vendors or the guild vendors, or you can farm this yourself. But definitely a great set if you're not at the level where you're running trials yet to get the other two sets. But this is another good set to go ahead and use in place of Yellowneck for the body up until you can start running trials. All right, the next set is Ebon Armory. Ebon is another good set to get. It comes from one of the base game dungeons. A lot of people, you could run this on vet with a pug group and end up picking this up. It is very easy to go ahead. There's 2 dungeons that drop it, so that it makes it even easier to go ahead and get. So again, Ebon Armory, 2 items add 1206 max health. 3 items add 1206 max health. 4 adds 4% healing taken, and 5 increase your max health by 1,000 for you and up to 11 other group members within 28 meters of you. This is my go-to set when I'm building a new tank, or if I'm the off tank. This is something I typically use and I will run when I'm the off tank in vet trials or in regular trials. But this is definitely something I do keep in my backpack as a secondary set to my overall sets. All right, so I hope that you guys have enjoyed this video. This is, again, one of my favorite builds that I put together. My Templar being my number 1, my Necro that you've seen. If you haven't, definitely check out my other video on my Goliath build. That is a fun build. And my other videos talking about the different tanking. This is one of my favorite builds. I've taken it into 4-man content, hard mode content, trials. The resources and skills available to you when you play this. If you, like I mentioned earlier in the video, if you're struggling in any way with resource management, this will help you in combating that. So that way your resource management is there when you're using this type of build. This build is, in my opinion, probably one of the easier builds to put together. Doesn't take a whole lot of time in getting the skills and or the equipment for this. Once you have the equipment and the skills, you'll be able to run a lot of 4-man content and get into trials and vet trials quite easily with this build. This again is, in my opinion, not a strictly meta build, but this does compete up there with the big boys like the Dragon Knight. The skills and synergies that it does have, it just makes this a different way of playing Elder Scrolls Online. And this is primarily one of the reasons why I love Elder Scrolls Online. You can create any type of build that you want and make it work. And sometimes, like in this case with the Sorc Tank, it just works great because of the skills and synergies that the overall tanking and the skills that it has kind of have that synergy of effect going on. All right, so without further ado, I appreciate you guys watching the video. If you haven't yet, definitely hit that subscribe button. It definitely helps out my channel. If you want, you can definitely follow me over on Twitch. I definitely appreciate that. And definitely check out some of my other videos. We're almost at 100 subscribers on this YouTube channel. I appreciate everybody that has hit that subscribe button, and I do appreciate you guys coming in and watching my videos. It does energize me and keep me motivated and in creating this type of content for you guys. Again, if you want, you can catch me on Twitch every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'll go ahead and put the link below, and I'll catch you guys later. Happy adventuring, and Tamriel.